Every time Max returned to his hometown, he knew exactly what was coming. Before anyone asked whether he was happy, they asked about his salary. How much are you earning now? Have you bought a house yet? What kind of car do you drive? Then came the comparison Max hated most. Do you remember Daniel? He already has his own business. Your cousin bought a new house last year. Your old classmate is already a manager. Max would smile politely, but inside, every comparison hurt. At 25, he had an ordinary office job and an ordinary salary. Most of his paycheck disappeared into rent, food, transportation, and other monthly expenses. He wasn't broke, but he certainly didn't look successful. Eventually, Max started avoiding hometown gatherings altogether. He told his parents that work was keeping him busy. That wasn't completely true. The real reason was embarrassment. But one evening, sitting alone in his small apartment, Max realized something important. Avoiding his hometown wouldn't change his life. Comparing himself with his friends wouldn't change it either. If Max wanted a different future, he would have to build one, quietly, patiently, one decision at a time. That evening, Max opened social media. One friend was standing beside a new car. Another was celebrating a promotion. Someone else had posted photographs of a beautiful new home. For a moment, Max felt even worse. Then he asked himself a question he had never seriously considered. How much of what I'm seeing is actually wealth? He didn't know their savings. He didn't know their debt. He didn't know whether the cars were financed or whether the expensive lifestyles were creating financial pressure behind closed doors. Max suddenly understood that he had been comparing his Maui-in private struggles with everyone else's public victories. So he made a rule. For the next 10 years, he would stop measuring his progress against other people. His competition would be yesterday's Max. That night, he wrote 4 goals in a notebook. Increase his income, control unnecessary spending, learn long-term investing, develop one additional income-producing skill. He wasn't trying to become a millionaire quickly. His first target was much smaller. Build his first emergency fund, then invest his first $1,000. Max didn't know where the journey would lead, but for the first time, he wasn't thinking about impressing his hometown. He was thinking about becoming financially stronger. Max wanted to start investing immediately, but he quickly learned that investing money while having no financial safety net could create another problem. One unexpected expense might force him to sell investments at the worst possible time. So Max started with his foundation. He tracked everything he spent for 30 days. The results surprised him. Small purchases were consuming far more money than he realized. Food delivery, unused subscriptions, random online shopping, expensive weekend habits. Max didn't eliminate everything enjoyable. Instead, he decided which expenses actually improved his life and which ones were simply automatic habits. Next, he built an emergency fund. It wasn't exciting. There were no dramatic profits to show his friends, but it gave Max something he had rarely experienced before: financial breathing room. When his phone broke, he didn't need debt. When his car needed repairs, he didn't touch his investments. Once his emergency savings were established, Max automated part of every paycheck toward long-term investing. He treated investing like rent. It happened before unnecessary spending. This became one of Max's most important financial rules. Protect yourself first, then build wealth. Because without a stable foundation, even a good investment strategy can collapse when life suddenly becomes expensive. Max's first serious investing mistake came from excitement. He heard coworkers discussing a company whose stock price had been rising quickly. Everyone seemed confident. One coworker said, "This thing is going much higher." Max hadn't studied the company. He didn't understand its financial position. He simply hated the feeling that everyone else might make money without him. So he invested. Within weeks, the stock began falling. Max kept telling himself it would recover. Then, it dropped even further. The money he had worked months to save was suddenly worth much less. Max felt embarrassed, but instead of immediately chasing another hot opportunity, he studied what had gone wrong. His biggest mistake wasn't that the stock fell. It was investing without understanding what he owned. From then on, Max changed his approach. Most of his investment money went toward diversified, long-term holdings, rather than individual bets. Before buying anything, he asked, "What exactly am I buying? Why am I buying it? How much risk am I taking? What would make me sell?" The loss hurt, but it gave Max something more valuable than a temporary profit, a process. He stopped searching for exciting investments. He started searching for sensible ones. After a year of budgeting and investing, Max noticed a limitation. He could reduce expenses only so far. There was a minimum amount he needed for housing, food, transportation, and daily life. But his income had much more room to grow. That changed his strategy. Instead of spending every evening watching markets, Max began investing time in his career. He studied skills that were valuable in his industry. He completed online courses. He volunteered for difficult projects his coworkers avoided. He practiced communication and learned how to present his work clearly. When promotion opportunities appeared, Max was ready. His first raise wasn't enormous, but Max made an important decision. He didn't immediately increase his lifestyle. Part of the additional income went toward better living. The rest went toward investments and savings. 2 years later, another promotion arrived. Then a better job opportunity appeared at another company. Max negotiated his salary instead of accepting the first offer. His income climbed much faster than before. Max had discovered something powerful. Investing wasn't only about choosing financial assets. Investing in his own skills increased the amount of money he had available to build wealth. His career had become one of his greatest financial assets. His 4th year, Max had become more confident with money. Maybe too confident. He started watching trading videos promising large profits from short-term market moves. The results looked impressive. Max thought, "I've been investing for years. Maybe I'm ready." His first few trades made money. That was dangerous. Success convinced him that his skill was greater than it really was. He increased his position sizes. Then one trade moved sharply against him. Instead of accepting the loss, Max added more money. The price continued falling. Within days, several months of trading profits disappeared. Max finally closed the position. That experience completely changed the way he viewed trading. Trading would never become his main financial plan. Long-term investing remained the foundation. Max limited trading to a smaller portion of his capital and created strict rules. No borrowed money. No oversized positions. No trading based on rumors. Every trade needed a planned entry, risk level, and exit. Most importantly, Max began keeping a trading journal. He recorded why he entered, what happened, and what he learned. Trading became less exciting, but that was exactly what Max wanted. He stopped treating the market like a casino. He started treating trading like a disciplined business activity. Max's career was improving, but he didn't want his entire financial future depending on one employer. So, he looked for something he could do outside his regular job. The answer came from a skill he already had. During his career development, Max had become good at analyzing reports and organizing business information. He started offering freelance services to small companies. His first client paid very little, but Max wasn't focused on earning huge money immediately. He wanted experience. Then came a second client, then another. Some evenings were tiring. Max would finish his office job, eat dinner, and spend another 2 hours completing freelance work. He created one rule for this additional income. Most of it would not become lifestyle money. A portion went toward taxes and business expenses. Another portion went into long-term investments. Some was saved for future opportunities. The side income never became the largest part of Max's wealth, but it gave him something extremely valuable: options. If his employer disappeared tomorrow, Max knew he could still create income. He also learned that financial security isn't always about earning more from one source. Sometimes it's about making. Sure, one closed door cannot destroy your entire financial life. Years 5 through 8 weren't dramatic. There was no overnight breakthrough, no winning lottery ticket, no single investment that suddenly made Max rich. Most of his progress happened quietly. Every month, money automatically moved into long-term investments. Every year, Max reviewed his spending. When his salary increased, he increased his investing before upgrading his lifestyle. He continued learning at work. He maintained his freelance clients. And he traded only when opportunities fit his rules. Some years were good, others were frustrating. Markets fell. Individual investments disappointed him. Some trades lost money. One freelance client disappeared without warning. Max also watched old friends buy bigger homes and more expensive cars. For a moment, the old pressure returned. Maybe he was still behind, but then Max opened his financial records. His income was higher. His debt was controlled. His investment portfolio had grown substantially. His emergency fund was strong, and he had multiple ways to earn money. That was when Max understood something. Financial progress often looks boring from the outside. Nobody applauds automatic investing. Nobody celebrates responsible risk management, but those quiet decisions were building something appearances couldn't show. Financial independence. And Max was getting closer every year. Near the end of the 10th year, Max sat at his desk for his annual financial review. He gathered everything together: his long-term investment accounts, cash reserves, retirement investments, the value of his small side business, his controlled trading account. Then he subtracted everything he owed. Max stared at the final number. His net worth had crossed $1 million. He checked again, then again. There was no celebration in a luxury restaurant, no sports car waiting downstairs. Max simply sat quietly. He remembered the young man who once avoided returning home because he couldn't answer questions about his salary without feeling ashamed. Ironically, salary had never been the full answer. Approximately 40% of his wealth had come from long-term investing and investment gains. Career growth had provided roughly 30% of the journey by giving him increasingly more money to save and invest. Disciplined trading represented around 20%. His freelance and side business activities accounted for roughly the remaining 10%. None of those pieces had worked alone. Max hadn't found one magical strategy. He had built a financial system. Increase income. Invest consistently. Control risk. Create additional income. Avoid unnecessary lifestyle inflation. And most importantly, stay with the plan long enough for his decisions to matter. December, Max returned to his hometown for the first major family gathering he had attended in years. The streets looked almost exactly the same. The houses looked familiar. Even the old restaurant near his parents' home was still there. Then came the questions. An elderly neighbor smiled and asked, "Max, what are you doing these days?" Another relative quickly added, "How much are you earning now?" Someone mentioned one of Max's childhood friends, who had recently purchased another expensive car. 10 years earlier, those words would have made Max uncomfortable. This time, he smiled. "I'm doing well," he said. That was all. Max didn't mention his $1 million net worth. He didn't show anyone his investment accounts. He didn't explain his trading results. He didn't need to. Later that evening, an old friend pulled Max aside. "I heard you've done really well financially. What's the secret?" Max laughed. There wasn't one. He explained that he spent 10 years increasing his skills, investing part of his income, managing risk, and avoiding the temptation to look successful before he actually became financially secure. The friend looked surprised. "So, you never had one big breakthrough?" Max shook his head. "No. I had hundreds of small decisions." Before leaving his hometown, Max walked past the same park where he had spent time with his childhood friends. 10 years earlier, he had believed he was behind. Some friends earned more. Some had better job titles. Some bought houses earlier. Some drove nicer cars. But Max finally understood that personal finance is not a race where everyone starts from the same line. People have different incomes, different responsibilities, different opportunities, different families, and different definitions of success. Constant comparison had almost distracted Max from building his own future. The most important change wasn't becoming a millionaire. It was learning to measure progress differently. Was his income improving? Was he developing valuable skills? Was he investing regularly? Was he controlling financial risk? Was he spending intentionally? Was he becoming less dependent on a single paycheck? Those were the questions that changed Max's life. So when someone asks how Max became financially successful, his answer is simple. Stop trying to look successful for other people. Build something that actually belongs to you. Your skills, your savings, your investments, your discipline, and your financial freedom. Because 10 years will pass, whether you prepare for them or not. Start building your future today. And subscribe to Max's Finance Academy for more stories and practical lessons that can help you make smarter decisions with your money.